Hello, I am Cindy Mack, Director of Library Sales for Penguin Random House Children's Books, here to share the highlights from our Spring 23 new titles. So what's new? First, Random House is launching two new imprints. Joy Revolution is Random House's new imprint focused on romance novels starring people of color and written by people of color. Two of Penguin Random House's beloved young adult authors, Nicola and David Yoon, inspired by love of romance novels and romance comedies, and the desire from an early age to see themselves, people of color, at the center of these stories. Anchored by the core belief that love has the power to unmake and remake the world, Joy Revolution is a place where readers and writers can feel at home and welcome, a place safe where they can comfortably belong and feel free to revel in the full measure of their humanity. First up on the inaugural list is Highly Suspicious and Unfairly Cute by Talia Hibbert, social media darling and the adult author of the Brown Sisters trilogy. This is a laugh-out-loud story about a quirky content creator and a clean-cut athlete testing their abilities to survive the great outdoors and each other. Talia Hibbert brings her signature swoon, brilliant banter, and the desire to further mental health awareness via her characters to her very first young adult romance novel, Queen Bee by Amelie Howard, the adult author of historical romance, brings us a young adult romance that explores the themes of friendship, betrayal, and having agency in your life. The novel follows a teen girl seeking retribution against her backstabbing former best friend, but finds her plans slightly derailed once she catches the eyes of a familiar handsome Marquis. Think Bridgerton meets the Count of Monte Cristo with a little of the Queen's Gambit sprinkled in. Code's inaugural list began this fall with their publishing and will focus on middle grade and young adult titles, particularly contemporary middle grade fantasy series and high concept literary young adult novels. Featuring works from both debut and well-known creators, the imprint is committed to publishing diverse voices and inclusive stories with a focus on LGBTQIA+ representation. The publishing plan is about 3 titles per season or 9 per year, and the fall list is already off to a great start with the epic story of Every Living Thing's already garnered 5-star reviews, and Sir Callie, publishing this November, is already gaining a ton of buzz. With 3 middle grade and 2 young adult titles coming this spring. First up is Momo Arashima, a thrilling, funny middle grade fantasy series about a girl who sets out to save her Shinto goddess mother and the world by facing down demons intent on bringing chaos. Momo must embrace her identity as a half-human, half-goddess to unlock her divine powers, save her mother's life, and force the demons back to Yomo. This Japanese mythology-inspired series is a perfect blend of action, humor, and with character-driven emotional stories through an accessible, engaging voice, and is written in short chapters that end on cliffhangers. The quick pacing creates a truly imaginative fantasy series. The Heroes of Havensong, Book 1 in Dragon Boy, is an epic tale of dragons and magic supported by a powerful cast of characters. This timeless fantasy debut offers 4 unlikely heroes: a boy turned dragon, his reluctant dragon rider, a runaway witch, and a young soldier. Each tells their point of view of being bound by the fates to save their world and magic from being destroyed. And lastly, Spellbinders. What do you get when you cross the good place's Eleanor Shellstrop with the Dungeons and Dragons? Answer: Ben Whitlock, the hero of Spellbinders. He's the not-so-chosen one. All the adventure of a heroic quest plus mistaken identity, this series opener packs a wonderful punch of parody of fantasy tropes while serving up a perfectly satisfying fantasy story. Dear Medusa, a modern feminist read, this is a searing and intimate novel in verse. It's a powerful story, follows a 16-year-old dealing with sexual abuse by her teacher, and she's been cast, like the mythical Medusa, as not the victim but the monster, as she grapples with how to reclaim her story, her anger, and her body in a world that seems determined to punish her for the sin of surviving. The Rules of Us is a heartwarming queer love story about love of all kinds, with the focus on friendship. Jillian and Henry were best friends before anything else. As they navigate their new crushes, new feelings, and newly uncertain future after unexpectedly coming out to each other on prom night, which turns their lives and their friendships upside down. The Rules of Us is a coming out story where the coming out isn't traumatic. We are so excited to have New York Times bestselling author Alex Bracken on the Random House Children's List. This is an epic fantasy, an Arthurian retelling with a fresh feminist take that is rooted in Celtic folklore. This story includes a tenacious heroine and a breathless chase from Savannah, Georgia to the cliffs of Cornwall. This book is full of high-stakes fantasy against the contemporary backdrop. Silver in the Bone is the start of a new duology inspired by the Arthurian legend and fueled by love, revenge, and pure adrenaline. It's a perfect book for readers who love mythological retellings such as Cirque or Six of Crows. For our first picture book, remember, acclaimed Indigenous creators, the first Native American to serve as U.S. Poet Laureate Joy Harjo's iconic poem, Remember, is illustrated by Caldecott medalist Michaela Goad from We Are the Water Protectors. The picture book adaptation of the renowned poem that encourages young readers to reflect on family, nature, and their heritage, and to remember the importance of their place in the world. In simple and direct language, Harjo urges readers to pay close attention to who they are, the world that they were born into, and how all inhabitants on the earth are connected. Everyone loves Lunchtime but Zia. This is the start of a new picture book series from debut author Jenny Lau. The fear of bringing your school lunch are universal childhood experiences. And in this heartwarming picture book, a Chinese American girl grows to appreciate the traditional dishes her parents prepare for her and finds a way to share her lunch with her classmates. Themes of identity and acceptance and learning to appreciate where you come from and sharing your heritage are relatable for all readers. Helpful back matter, including informational resources and recipes. The follow-up picture book, Everyone Loves Career Day But Zia, is coming in 2024. Salat in Secret. 7 is the age when Muslim children are encouraged to pray, and Muhammad is determined to do all 5 daily prayers on time. But one Salat occurs during the school day, and he's worried about being seen praying in school. His father parks his truck to worship in public places, and people stare at him and mock at him. Will the same thing happen to Muhammad? In the end, with the help from his teacher, he finds the perfect place to pray. Salat in Secret is a poignant and empowering look at an important facet of Islam and that many observant children cherish but may be scared to share. This is by 2 highly acclaimed Muslim creators, and Salat in Secret fills a need for more books about and for Muslim children, and this one is beautiful and a kid-friendly edition. The Night Before Freedom is a moving picture book which tells the story of Grandma's annual retelling of the story of Juneteenth, with all the care and reverence of such a holiday deserves. The rhyming text and stunning illustrations will teach children about this historic day in history. The story is written in the same meter as Clement C. Moore's Night Before Christmas, making it the perfect book for parents and kids to read together. And also, Little Golden Books has a new collaboration with Ebony Jr., and the first title will be Jaylene's Juneteenth Surprise. Random House has 4 Little Golden Books coming out with this new Ebony Jr. collaborations, stories by Black creators celebrating Black identities and excellence. Real to Me by acclaimed author Min Lee and Coretta Scott King honoree Rasa Figueroa team up for this tender story about friendship and accepting change. In an introduction to complicated themes of moving on and growing up, told from the perspective of an imaginary friend who grapples with the complex feelings of growing apart from their human. Lush illustrations pair with touching text in this gentle picture book that illuminates the sweetness of the first friendship, the sadness when it's lost, and the beauty in discovering new friends that are just around the corner. Under the Blanket Sky is an extraordinary debut picture book about a boy and his unusual friend, a majestic owl, and a long yet fleeting summer that changes them forever. In the spirit of Velveteen Rabbit and Robert Frost's poem, Nothing Gold Can Stay, here is a heartfelt and luminously illustrated story about friendship and external love. This stunning and unique book, which feels instantly both new and classic, is sure to spark wonderful conversations as families share it together. The author-illustrator is self-taught artist. The luminous, detailed paintings perfectly evoke the memories of a childhood summer, and a gentle yet powerful text will leave readers smiling through their tears. Here are a collection of our social emotional picture books for the spring. Pocket Full of Sads is a debut author-illustrator husband and wife team. This deals with big, heavy feelings in a uniquely humorous approach while encouraging mindfulness and exploring what it means to be a good friend. This tender picture book is the perfect primer to help children understand the heavy-hearted sadness that can come out of nowhere. And more importantly, it helps kids and adults be better listeners and more supportive companions to friends dealing with tough feelings. Rabbit, Duck, and Big Bear. They're three best friends who do everything together. They learn, though, that sometimes you need to spend time alone. This social emotional story is about recognizing that sometimes you need to be alone, and it's okay, and it creates a balance of time between friends and being by yourself. And lastly, Gustav is Missing. Andrea Zuhl has quickly become a favorite picture book author-illustrator. She is humorous and kid-friendly. Gustav is Missing is a story about being brave and in an unlikely friendship. A little mushroom sets off into the scary world to find his missing pet slug. And here's the story that celebrates friendship, perseverance, and bravery. Repeat After Me. From parents and actors Jasmine Simon and Dooley Hill comes a picture book filled with beautiful, inspiring affirmations reminding kids of their own infinite wonder. In this call and response picture book, children will realize the magic of self-love and standing firm, regardless of outside voices and doubt. Children will feel their confidence grow as they repeat the encouraging words on the page and take the warm illustrations and learn to believe in themselves. There's an author note in the beginning of the book on how to use it. Little Damon, you know entrepreneur, FUBU founder, and Shark Tank fan favorite Damon John. He is introducing kids to basic ideas about money and starting their own business, which includes the concepts of saving, spending, budgeting, and borrowing. It will develop a basic foundation of financial literacy that hopefully will set children up for success in the future. We know that parents and educators are looking for books that will equip their kids with the basic financial literacy, and we are thrilled to be publishing Damon's first book for children and love that the text is inspired by his own childhood. Blending the true story of Damon selling pencils as a kid with the fictional story of Little Damon, this is a fun read that teaches the important lessons and also will help guide what money is and how it can be used, as well as a checklist for starting your own business. Whalefall is a fascinating real-life phenomena that is brought to vivid and poetic life by nonfiction master Melissa Stewart and acclaimed illustrator Robert Dunleavy. Details the end of life for a whale or a whalefall when the body sinks to the ocean floor and becomes an energy-rich food source for organisms living in the deep sea, creating an entire habitat in the ocean's ecosystem. There is extensive bat matter which provides more information about whalefowl, the underwater creatures mentioned throughout, and the life cycles of a whale. Our picture book biographies. Random House has so much to offer January through June. The Green Piano is an autobiographical picture book by multiple Grammy Award winner singer Roberta Flack. It recounts her childhood in a home surrounded by music and love. It all started with a beat-up piano that her father found in a junkyard, repaired, and painted green. It's a lyrical picture book, perfect for aspiring piano players and singers, and it shares an intimate look at Roberta Flack's family and her special connection to music. Little Rosita and the Talking Guitar is the story of Sister Rosita Tharpe, the woman who invented rock and roll, only recently inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Here is a warm, inspiring narrative of a childhood filled with music, community, and the drive to succeed. and afterward includes more detailed information about young sister Rosita's life, career, and her contribution to music. And lastly, perfect for women's history displays is the Jackie Orman's Draws the Future. It's a picture book biography about the first Black female cartoonist in America who would go on to create the bold and witty characters such as Torchy Brown. Her life and work inspired countless artists today. Author Liz McGuire carries Jackie's indelible legacy forward in vibrant text and evocative cartoons. Make Way is a beautiful tribute to the classic picture book Make Way for Ducklings. This biography parallels the lives of Robert McCluskey and the sculptor Nancy Schoen, whose famous bronze ducks grace Boston Public Gardens. This picture book biography cleverly entwines the lives of the two phenomenal artists who were contemporaries and friends, and reveals the extraordinary impact they've had on generations of children. The art style was inspired by McCluskey's style, and there are author notes which provide more information on both McCluskey and Schoen. Sisters in Science is the fascinating and true story of Nobel Prize winner Marie Curie and her sister Bronia, two trailblazing women who worked together and made a legendary impact on chemistry and healthcare as we know it. This is a compelling biography of two sisters who created their own paths while keeping their bonds of sisterhood strong. And Door by Door, a nonfiction picture book about Delaware State Senator Sarah McBride, who dreamed of making a difference as a kid and grew up to become the highest-ranking openly transgender political official in America. Moving on to middle grade, first up is Wrecker, a trip to Key West with Carl Hyson as your tour guide. Who's in? Our hero is Valdez Jones VIII, the great-great-great-grandson of a Bohemian free driver who salvages shipwrecks off the coast of Key West. So is it destiny, irony, or just bad luck when he comes across a speedboat that has run aground on a sand flat? Whatever you call it, it sets off a chain of events that will encompass smugglers, grave robbers, anti-vaxxers, corrupt politicians, and some seriously gnarly iguanas. This is signature Hyacin, fast-paced, high-stakes, humorous, that also packs a punch and tackles thought-provoking current issues. This upcoming spring is the season for Chris Grabenstein. First up, he brings us a new picture book, No is All I Know. Leo Espinoza and Chris Grabenstein are the perfect pair of creators to introduce this story centering around the word no, a universal, relatable picture book about toddlerhood that will have everyone laughing. He's also got the third title in The Smartest Kid in the Universe coming, and in paper, Mr. Lemoncello's very first game. All of this in time to celebrate 10 years of Mr. Lemoncello, which will be great for summer reading. Here are a few of our middle grade not to be missed fantasy sequels. First up is Notorious Scarlet and Brown. They're back in their next adventure after a cliffhanger that ended in book 1. Winnie Zhang vanishes the king, the second book in this action-packed sequel to the epic fantasy series inspired by Chinese mythology, and Enchanted Bridge from our best-selling series Dragons in a Bag. Random House has 31 graphic novels coming out in 2023. These are just a few. First up is Gemma Hopper, a realistic graphic novel about a girl and baseball and trying to fit in with her family. Next up is Mish, the Bad Demon, a tale of unlikely heroes and myths made real in this debut fantasy series about a bad demon trying to find her place in the underworld. Grace Needs Space is a sci-fi graphic novel about a young girl's long-awaited summer trip across space with one of her moms. But when her relationship with her mom goes sideways, so does her trip. It's a thoughtful story dealing with family dynamics, parents, and communication, and it normalizes inclusive families. And lastly is The Moth Keeper, a contemporary magic story. It's a middle grade fantasy about passion, duty, and found family. Being the Moth Keeper is a huge responsibility and a great honor. But what happens when the new Moth Keeper decides to take a break from the moon and sees the sun for herself? The art is very manga-like for those fans. From the #1 New York Times bestselling author of The Good Girl's Guide to Murder, recently we announced for a November release, 5 Survive, a standalone thriller that begins with a road trip that turns deadly. Every teenager's nightmare, spring break, 6 friends, and no cell phone service. And releasing in trade paperback is Killjoy. It's a welcome to the murder mystery party of the year. It's a novella based on the same characters from Good Girl's Guide to Murder. YA thrillers are the perfect crossover reads. First up is Liar's Beach. It's an Agatha Christie inspired mystery set in Martha's Vineyard, but it's told in the point of view of a prep school boy. Then we have The Island. Natasha Preston is back with another pulse-pounding read set in an amusement park. And then the follow-up to The Agathas is The Night in Question. It's 2 girls who think they are Agatha Christie. We are really excited to have another novel from Nick Stone. Chaos Theory is a commercial contemporary love story with deep emotional core and awareness for living and loving that deals with mental illness. A gripping romance about 2 teens, a certified genius living with diagnosed mental illness, which is bipolar, and a politician's son who is running from his own addiction and grief. Don't miss this gut punch of a novel about mental illness, loss, and discovering who you are worthy of. Deals with teen alcoholism and a DUI. Imposter Syndrome from the award-winning author Patricia Park of Rejane. She is making her young adult debut in a funny, poignant, and powerful novel about a teen struggling to fit into her whitewashed school, her diverse Queens neighborhood, and even her own home as her family reels from the loss of their father. The coming-of-age novel is about a multicultural teen caught between worlds and the future she is building for herself. It is an inclusive, laugh-out-loud, provocative read, perfect for fans of I'm Not Your Perfect Mexican Dog. Lucha of the Night Forest is an edge-of-your-seat Latinx dark fantasy about a girl who will do anything to protect her sister, even if it means striking a dangerous bargain. And then Friday, I'm in Love. Is it too late for a Sweet 16? But what if Mahalia had a coming out party? A love letter to romantic comedies, Sweet 16 blowouts, black joy, and queer pride. This is a feel-good rom-com which deals with first love, first kisses, and it's a happy coming out story. It's kind of 16 Candles meets a Cinderella story. Thank you for listening to the Random House Children's Book Spring 2023 preview.